Are you faced with the prospect of living with chronic pain? I'm guessing if you clicked on this video that either you or someone you know suffers regularly with some form of pain. If so, then the 25 tips I'm going to go through today should really help you to cope just a little bit better on a daily basis. Now, I'm sure some of the things I'll cover are activities that you probably do anyway, but if just one or two tips make a real difference to how you can control your pain, potentially for the rest of your life, then the next few minutes will be time very well spent. Hi, my name's Michael. That's me in the corner of your screen. I'm a pain specialist and your host for today. I'm producing this video for Help Relieve Pain, the internet's pain management community. But before we start with the list, if you suffer with any form of pain, please just click the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and hit the bell to join our YouTube community and get notifications of fresh videos as we pioneer and evaluate new treatments for pain relief. Then just hit the like button if you find this content interesting. So how do you manage better with chronic pain? Well, the first point I need to clarify is that these are general pain management tips. They are not condition specific, by which I mean there are lots of other specific pain relief remedies, such as back braces for lower back pain, or using a TENS machine that are relevant when we cover back or knee pain. So how do you manage better with chronic pain? Well, one of the most important elements to managing with chronic pain is to always try and get a good night's sleep. Plenty of studies have proved beyond doubt the enormous benefit of sleep to chronic pain. But it's also proved that a high percentage of sufferers don't get enough sleep and are counted as clinically suffering from insomnia. Besides leaving you tired and feeling run down, not having a good night's sleep further intensifies your body's sensitivity to pain, as well as increasing many of the downsides of living with chronic pain, including mood swings and depression. Now, there are a whole range of different ways to get better sleep, from changing eating habits to forming better routines to using artificial sleep aids. And like some of the other tips on here, there are separate detailed articles on how to sleep with pain and what is the best position for sleeping with back pain on our website and soon to be on our YouTube channel. For this list, however, just know that if you're not getting deep sleep, and by that I mean not just closing your eyes for 8 hours and waking up still feeling tired, that means actually getting the deep, refreshing stage 3 sleep that allows your body to regenerate, then you need to be thinking about ways to actively achieve that, even if you suffer with chronic pain. Tip number 2 is to allow yourself to mourn and to be upset. This is also known as acceptance and commitment therapy. Now, some of you may not have chronic pain in the sense that it hasn't lasted for 3 months or more and seemingly doesn't have a cure. However, if you do have or have been diagnosed with a chronic disease like rheumatoid arthritis or fibromyalgia, then coping with the concept of never-ending chronic pain can be just as difficult mentally as it is physically. It is likely to mean significant adjustments to your lifestyle and some activities that potentially you can no longer do. It's therefore really important, especially in the early days, to allow yourself to be angry and to allow yourself to feel sad. You are effectively mourning parts of your life that you may have to leave behind. However, like losing a loved one, eventually we will have to accept that life continues, and that if we're to make the most of the hand we've been dealt, no matter how cruel it is, then we have to start looking up. That's not saying everything is all right, it's just accepting the situation we are in, deciding what we want now, and moving forward as best we can in the circumstances we find ourselves in. Coming to terms with this situation is essential to being able to move forward. Tip number 3 would be keeping a journal. Write down what happened on your good days and what happened on your bad days, because you will have ups and downs. Is there a link between them? Maybe you can start seeing certain activities that worsen your symptoms. Plan your activities for days going forward and recognise when you took on too much one day. What I'm really saying is learn about your condition. It will be individual to every person, and ultimately only you can manage it best. Tip number 4, plan your limits. It is likely that your chronic pain will slow you down in many ways. What is vital is that you don't try to continue as normal unless you are really up to it. Don't plan to have a full day if there's even a chance it will leave you worn out and in much greater pain by the evening. This leads neatly on to advice number 5 about activity pacing. If you do want to do more, try working up to it in small steps. For example, if standing at the sink causes you too much pain, try doing it just for 2 minutes at a time. Then after a week or two, and only if your body seems to be okay with that, try pushing it to 4 minutes, and so on. You're training your body ultimately in the same way that athletes train, by building up slowly. And to be fair, much of our advice is actually fundamentally based around managing your life the way an athlete would, planning everything and getting the best performance out of your body and the most quality time out of your life. Time management is point number 6. Most chronic pain gets worse as the day goes on, which may not fit into your list of priorities. For example, if by 4:30 p.m. you can barely move because you overworked yourself during the day, you might be forced to miss out on quality time with your children before their bedtime. Using a diary will help with good time management to ensure that you don't overstretch yourself on the less important things and then miss out on those vital memory-making parts. Take control of stress and avoid stressful events. Large events that are out of your control may only actually exacerbate your pain, partly due to the stress itself physically tensing your body, which is only going then to intensify your pain. But also there's a mental side of the stress that can actually heighten the body's receptiveness to pain. It's therefore really important that you plan all your days in advance and take out specific events that you feel may be either out of your control or too stressful for you. Tip number 8 is to arrange distractions, because whatever your pain levels, having a distraction can greatly help to take your mind off it. By taking your mind off the constant nagging pain, it's then, at least in your own mind, reduced, as the brain is busy and so less focused on sending you pain messages all the time. You're also subconsciously less focused on receiving those pain messages. Even something as simple as playing computer games, or writing if that's what you enjoy, engages your brain in other activities, and that at least takes some of the focus away from the day-to-day grind of managing with your pain. Tip number 9 is to get plenty of rest. Now this could, and probably should, be tip number 1, certainly if we were to do it in order of priority. We're not the only source offering chronic pain management tips, either on the internet or in face-to-face. But it does amaze me how few people actually include rest, even though it's undoubtedly one of the most important factors. And by rest, I don't mean sleeping at night, or even sleeping during the day. I mean literally just taking 10 minutes away, sitting down without anything to distract you, and just relaxing. Potentially concentrate on your breathing to achieve the best relaxation state possible. Not getting enough rest not only heightens your feelings of pain, but may easily make the joint more inflamed and the pain worse. Again, plan in your rest time, but also make sure that other people don't see those planned slots as an opportunity to put extra activities in for you to do. They're really important that you keep them in order that you perform at your best level throughout the entire day. Tip number 10 concerns exercising, and exercising whenever possible. Now, just as I make point number 9 about taking regular rest, I'm also going to add the importance of taking regular exercise. This doesn't need to be overly strenuous and can vary according to the type of pain you're suffering with. But getting regular exercise not only boosts your immune system, but it produces endorphins. These chemical endorphins lock onto the pain receptors in your brain, actively reducing your feelings of pain. They can also produce a morphine-esque high afterwards. Now, The exercises we're really talking about can be anything from walking to leg raises to swimming. You can do a lot of them in a sitting position. It's very much about doing whatever you feel you can manage, even if that's not exactly running a marathon. Tip number 11 is to learn meditation. It's a perfect relaxation technique that can be carried out with just a little guidance from the comfort of your own home if you want. Meditation has been proven to increase life focus, improve your mindset, and greatly reduce your stress levels. And in turn, by reducing your stress levels, you will ultimately reduce your pain. Tip number 12 is to find out what actually helps your specific pain. Now, our website, helprelievepain.com, is jam-packed with great ideas from pain sufferers just like you, helping each other on different tricks and techniques that help to relieve their pain. This particular list that we're going through today is general to all types of chronic pain, but depending on where your pain is located, whether it be lower back, upper back, or the cause of your pain, whether it be rheumatoid arthritis, gout, etc., we are trying slowly to build the biggest online source of pain management tips and advice available. Use it and try different methods. Ultimately manage the pain yourself, because not every tip will work for every person. Ultimately we all respond to pain stimuli differently, but there is a combination out there that is most effective for you. The question is, how will you find it? And the only way you'll really find it is to try different tips, techniques, potentially painkillers as well, until eventually you settle on a combination, sometimes of 10 or more different practices that you find help you to reduce your pain levels, and they may include a pharmaceutical solution as well. But it is out there. The perfect combination for you and your pain does exist. It's just up to you to find it. Which leads neatly onto tip 13, which is about educating yourself. Unfortunately, your pain will more often than not end up being your problem. Doctors will help in achieving a diagnosis, and they should always be consulted in the first instance, particularly to rule out other serious and potentially treatable diseases. Pain specialists can also help greatly, but levels of pain are deeply subjective, as is your response to various treatment options. There is no single rule for any of this, except that you're the only one that truly knows how your pain is responding to any given treatment. Tip number 14 is to join a support group. Now, maybe you have one locally that you can attend. Sometimes these are organised through your local doctor or local surgery. Face-to-face groups are great because they help you to make more friends that live near you. In addition to that, joining helprelievepain.com as a member and taking part in some of the upcoming discussions or product trial panels will also help you keep abreast of new developments and keep finding fresh ideas to try out until you hit that jackpot. We also have a private discussion forum coming for members who can actually then discuss with each other and get private support with direct consultation with pain specialists like myself. However, ultimately it's about finding something that's convenient for you and fits in with your life, but having a support group so you can speak to people who've experienced potentially the same type of pain, learn how they dealt with it, and what, if you like, advice or tips they have in order to help, will prove absolutely essential in your long-term journey to managing your pain better. Tip number 15 is to take up a hobby. Now, partly this is because it will act as a great distraction, as we listed earlier, but it's also for its social benefits. Similar to the support groups, managing with chronic pain, particularly if you spend large periods of time at home resting, can suddenly leave you feeling quite isolated. Keeping a hobby, or adopting a new one, even if it is something relatively sedentary such as knitting or chess, will help to keep you positive. It can reduce the isolation if you go to specialist clubs and ensure you still have fun, which is perhaps the most important thing in all of this. Tip number 16 concerns hot and cold therapy. Now, this is a pretty universal treatment for pain relief, which is why I've included it in this general list. It is used by professional athletes and top footballers to speed up their recovery process after competing. The idea here is that heat is great for relaxing your muscles, and then by following it with a sharp, cold shock, it will actually stimulate rapid blood flow back around the body, which in turn stimulates recovery. Athletes would use ice baths, but there are plenty of cold compresses in the market. And similarly, a hot bath or hot water bottle, or indeed a hot compress, would achieve the same thing in order to heat your muscles. And scientifically, it does work beyond any shadow of doubt. Tip number 17 is all around adjusting your diet. Now, depending on what has caused your pain in the first place, there are certain food types that may be able to help. Tuna and mackerel, for example, as oily fish, are well known to reduce inflammation around joints, particularly in some cases of arthritis. Similarly, losing weight can also make an obvious difference, since the less strain you put on your body in carrying excess weight around, the less stress there are on joints and the rest of your body as a whole, and so the less intense the pain levels are likely to be. Equally, with tip number 18, cutting back on alcohol can help. Now, I appreciate this is a bit of a controversial one, and something we have covered in more detail in a separate study. Using alcohol as a pain reliever has been common ever since the days of cowboys and Indians. However, the risks grow considerably as soon as you start drinking regularly, and especially if, as many people have been found to be doing, you also take pain medications at the same time. In isolation, the only problem with drinking alcohol is that while it may help you to get sleep initially, it has been proven to create broken, shallow sleep, which is much less conducive to a good night of rest. However, mix an evening drink with your pain medication and you open up a whole new can of worms. And similarly, if that drinking to numb the pain becomes a regular daily drink and then becomes increased in quantity slightly, then again you're opening up a whole range of different health risks that ultimately will only increase your pain in the long run. But as I mentioned, we've looked at it both on our YouTube channel and also on our website in more detail, which you could look at if you're interested. Number 19 is don't smoke. Many smokers actually increase their level of smoking when they have chronic pain, and this is possibly as a mild form of distraction, but also undoubtedly because they feel it helps them to relax. Unfortunately, you are mistaken if you do so. Studies have found that you are twice as likely to suffer chronic lower back pain, for example, if you smoke than if you don't. What's even worse is that the act of smoking, while it may feel comforting at the time, will actually heighten your sense of pain and temper your body's response to pain treatments, meaning you have to take higher doses of painkillers just to get the same effect. Practicing mind over matter is tip number 20. Now, being positive in all circumstances has been proven to have amazing effects on the body. Oncologists are often very careful with how they present a cancer diagnosis, because they know that the more hope they leave a patient with, without ultimately lying to them of course, then the greater the chance of a miracle recovery in that patient. This is not to be confused, however, with a whole range of mindful recovery techniques such as the Feldenkrais method or the Alexander technique that teach you to separate mind from body and find better ways of moving to minimise your pain. I mean, these are also great options for managing with chronic pain, but they're more relevant to other points about finding specific pain remedies that work for you. This is really very much about understanding the value to your body as a whole of having a positive outlook. And it genuinely can make some very incredible recoveries happen. Tip number 21 is to set goals. This is key to maintaining the positive outlook that we've just discussed. Always set goals, whether they involve creating a bucket list for the year in question, I hasten to add, not your life as a whole, as that could be counterproductive. But also on a much smaller level, listing things you want to achieve on a weekly basis, for example. This way you will always be reminded that your life still has a considerable value, and you can go about achieving the goals that you want to achieve, which is really, really important to maintaining that positive mindset. Tip number 22 is to try a herbal remedy. Again, I included this specifically because there are plenty of herbal remedies according to the different type of pain you suffer with. Now, a lot of those, I'm aware, don't necessarily have scientific backing in terms of long, detailed clinical studies that will demonstrate their benefits. However, there are plenty of different remedies available, and most of them have very little to lose, especially if you tell your doctor what you're planning on taking, so they can make sure there's no interactions with the painkillers, for example, that you might already be on. Which leads me neatly on to tip number 23 about working with your doctor. Most doctors will do anything they can to help you control your pain. It's probably the hardest area for a non-specialist doctor to treat. But pain management consultants can also offer an informed view and are worth involving as you move forward managing your pain. This is particularly important if your pain starts to get worse or moves in terms of where it's affecting your body, as it's likely to be indicative of something else taking hold. Quite often, early symptoms of side effects to medications are actually missed because of this. The patient won't necessarily report it straight away until the pain becomes so severe that it becomes a dominating factor in their life and more substantial than the chronic pain that they're trying to treat. By that point, however, it's frequently too late, so work with your doctor, but particularly if you notice something changing, make sure they are aware, because even if it's nothing, at least they can rule it out. Tip number 24 is to learn biofeedback. Now, biofeedback is a technique that helps you to identify particular muscles that are in pain, and then avoid using them wherever possible. And finally, point number 25, have a self-care box at hand. Keep a self-care box maybe in the car and potentially one at your bedside, with essentials in it should your pain suddenly spike and get a lot worse. This could include a pay-as-you-go mobile phone in case you need help, some extra painkillers to manage the pain, and potentially a bottle of water to keep you hydrated. On top of this, you could add into the box anything that you feel might help to be at hand should you suffer another severe pain episode. And that concludes our list of chronic pain management tips. I hope it's given you some further food for thought. Increasingly in today's health market, time is at a premium with doctors, and the onus for self-management will ultimately fall on you. Now, there is some logic behind this too, because each individual has different responses to the same pain stimuli, so what hurts one person will potentially have a different impact on someone else. And the same is true with treatments. What works for one person won't always work for everybody. For more specific advice, don't forget to check out the disease-specific pages on our website www.helpreliefpain.com, where you can ask any disease-related questions direct to a pain specialist. Furthermore, if you'd like to be part of our online pain support group and have a chance to win some great pain relief prizes, try out free samples, and even get paid for taking part in pain relief review panels, just head on over to our website, click to join under the About Us section, and fill in a few non-personal details to be eligible. You can unsubscribe at any time, and we're not trying to sell you anything, so if you haven't already, please pop across and sign up. But for now, from myself, Michael, one of the pain specialists and a founder member at helpreliefpain.com, I wish you a good day and a pain-free life.